you want me to go out and fight, I will. If you want me to go fight for you, that's fine.
Hello.
I'll be down here on the fourth line.
Everybody.
Wow.
This is the Fourth Line Podcast. I'm Ozzy.
And I'm Ian.
Well, we got a healthy scratch here tonight. Caden is he's off doing the work of the club in St. George. So he's just, spreading the love of the sport to the St. Georgeites down there. They probably don't even know what hockey is, but yeah, so we're you're going to have to settle with us too. We know we're not nearly as good looking as Caden. We apologize to any of you jazz dancers that are listening in, expecting to hear his voice.
Just put us on Spotify. Don't watch the YouTube. We're not as pretty.
Yeah, just, or just turn the screen off and you can just listen to us. So we want to do a little recap. If you follow us on Instagram, you know that we went to Vernal this week and went up there for the USPHL Division Championships. Vernal has an awesome junior program going on up there, and it's called the Vernal Oilers. And where do we even start? I mean,
I'll just put it this way. Like, when you said, hey, let's go to Vernal to watch a hockey game, I was not stoked about it. I was like, it'll be a fun night with the boys, but I'm like, it'll make the trek all the way up there for some junior team that's like they're good, but like how good can they actually be? Like,
and Caden bailed, which made it even worse because he was stuck with me. So he's like, oh.
Yeah, I'm just in a car with Oz. You can only imagine what conversations we have there. But I was absolutely blown away by the game, by the atmosphere, the competition and the skill of the boys up there. I was shocked. It was worth it. And, like, puck drop wasn't until 8:30. Game ended at midnight. Oz and I drove back after the game.
It was daylight savings, so we were in bed by, like, 3:30 a.m.
We got back to Oz's place at 3:30. I got home at 4 a.m. I was pretty beat, but honestly, like, it was so worth it. I was really glad that we went, and the experience that we had there, like, if it's tough because it's a 2.5 hour drive if you're cooking on on the road.
We were driving faster than we should have.
But it was an unreal experience. Those boys are something special. That's a very special team. They're coached really well. And just like the whole town, the whole city of Vernal up there is behind them, which I thought was really cool. We pulled into Wendy's to grab dinner before the game, and the employees have like hockey sticks like on their shirts on the back, and I was like, wait, are those like company shirts? Like, are they supposed to be wearing those? And it's like, oh yeah, Wendy's like sponsors the team and
they
stuff.
Got
like
Wendy's on the shells for the team.
Yeah,
yeah. So for those of you that don't know, like, I'd be surprised if any of our listeners don't know what junior hockey is, but it's basically from 16 to 21. You can play AAA, you could go play Tier 1 18U, or you could go play junior hockey. And there's a few teams in Utah. Junior hockey's bigger in Canada, so if you were listening to past episodes, Schaefer Gordon Carroll is playing in a major junior hockey league, the WHL in Canada. And you see a lot of NHL players come out of there. Gavin McKenna is in the WHL. He's kind of the next first overall draft pick, people are saying. And so down here in Utah, it's a little bit different than that. Most of these guys aren't going to, none of them are going to the NHL, being honest. But a lot of them are trying to crack an NCAA team or even a really good ACHA team. And so it was interesting to see. So we've got a few teams here in Utah. We've got the Ogden Mustangs and the Outliers as well, who play out at A-Court, and they're in a league called the NCDC, and then a level below that league is called the USPHL, and we've got them out in Vernal. Then we have a team down in Cedar City, the Iron County Yeti, that are in that league, and the Vernal team is an absolute wagon. They were established in 2021, where they moved to Vernal. And if you've ever been to the Vernal rink, it's just it's a little barn. It's a tin barn. It's really nothing to write home about. But that's kind of what makes it cool. Is it's just this little rink in this little town, And who would have known that Friday and Saturday nights they got that place buzzing. So a little bit about the team. I'm just going to read off some of these players where they're from. So they have someone from Finland, Italy, Russia, Calgary, Alberta, Ontario, Saskatchewan, another Finland, another Russian, a Hungarian, California. Let's see, we got a few more here.
Where's my Newfie?
Where's the Newfie? We got a Newfie from Newfoundland. You guys all know the Newfies. Oh, we got a Vernal boy. No way. Wow. I didn't even realize that.
A hometown boy on the team?
Joseph Schaefer, Vernal, Utah. That's unreal if true. Oh, there's 2 Vernal boys. Kenny Huber's from Vernal, too. That's awesome. 3. What? One of the goalies is from Vernal. That's so cool. That actually fires me up. I didn't realize that. So there's no shortage for diversity on this team. And I think I saw on their Instagram that they have 5 guys that have been there the past 5 guys that have been there the past 3 years as they've won the division title 3 times in a row, which is pretty sick. Now, this season is a little out of the ordinary. Tell us why, Ian.
So this team has gone 44-0 in the regular season, and they're 4-0 so far in the postseason. So they are 48-0, and they're no ties, no overtime losses. Like, they are a straight 48-0 team. And they've played some good teams. Like, they've played some weaker teams. There's a team in Colorado, the Iron County Yetis are kind of getting their feet under them still. So they've kind of dog-walked a couple of teams quite a few times. But, I mean, they've played some really good teams from California, like the Ontario Junior Reign. They've played some teams from out east in the Midwest. And, like, they're legit. Like I said at the beginning, I wasn't very excited to go out to Vernal to watch hockey. Like, how good could these kids really be? But they were fast. They were physical. They were disciplined, and they played their positions very well. They moved the puck the best, that I think. Like, I thought that was the difference maker of their game. Like, their positioning was so good that they knew where to move the puck to before, their guy was even there. So I was very impressed. And I think that starts with, like, coaching and just getting those boys ready to do that, and being able to keep, 5 guys from a team last year that had won that division before previously. Like, that's a good core to build a bunch of new young guys around as well.
Yeah. And I think a big thing that adds to that, not just having vets that have played a few years, but just guys that are bought into the program. I mean, when you have a program like that, like, that has a history of doing well, you're gonna get more players that are interested in playing there. So a little bit about the USPHL. It is, I believe we were told it's the highest level of junior hockey that is still paid to play. So they're paying to play this level to develop them to hopefully get on a junior team where it's no longer pay to play like the Ogden Mustangs or the Outliers, where they fund you to play and you get the gear and they just want you on the team, or going to an NCAA program like a D3 program somewhere. And so these players, I mean, they love the game. I mean, to pay to go live, and this isn't a jab on Vernal, but just to pay to leave Europe to come to a small town in Utah, you'd have to love the game. To go live with a host family, you'd have to love the game. And it's really cool to see this little town rally around this team. I mean, how many jerseys would you say we saw in the crowd?
I was shocked. Almost all of the guys that are like 30 years old or older are wearing jerseys. Like, and then you had some of, like,
got apparel, lots of hoodies, lots of team blankets.
Yeah.
You probably heard in our video, look, this sounds like a parking lot of car horns going off, and I guess they auctioned off a few air horns, like those DeWalt drills that they convert into like a train horn. They auctioned some of those off for like $1,000 each for their cancer night, and really, really cool. I mean, they have a bunch of uniform combos, kids with posters in the stands. Like, it just would be a really cool experience. And I think one of the reasons why junior hockey exists instead of just having kids go directly from 18U to college is I think the idea is to help junior players see if they even are interested in playing hockey forever. You know, if they love the game enough to play every day. And I'll be honest, as we watched the game, one team loved it more than the other. I mean, I don't know if you could even describe it different than that, Ian, but
Yeah, it was a very fun game to watch. And like Seattle, so they played against Seattle for this divisional championship, and like they had some really, really good players on their team, and you could tell like they just wanted to play good hockey. And they honestly came out and kind of smacked Vernal around for the first 10 minutes of the first period. I would say like Vernal was on their heels for a little bit, but it just kind of turned into them manhunting. They would rather lay a bigger hit than be in position to make a good pass or receive a pass to get the puck to the net. And their system just kind of fell apart where Vernal kind of took over, and from there it was a slippery slope for Seattle. And it kind of ended the game in a barn burner. For those that don't know what that is a brutal last 10 minutes to watch. I'll just put it that way.
It was tough, and it was cool because we had a unique view. So we've got a buddy up in Vernal. His name's Tiny, and he does the play-by-play for the Vernal Oilers. And he invited us over to the game, and you know, I was a little hesitant too because Vernal's a far drive, and I was like, is it even going to be a good game? They're 44-0, and he was like, oh, you can come up in the booth and you can hop on the broadcast for a bit. And it was cool being up there because we were like the level above the penalty box, and so we could hear both benches, we could hear what's going on, and especially we could hear Seattle's bench really well. It started off, I mean, 10 minutes in, for those of you that know Jared Bussell, he was reffing, and 10 minutes in, he's yelling at Buss, like, if you don't make calls, we're leaving. You know, like, we'll go home. And it just felt like from there, like the minute those comments started, it was almost like the team deflated. Like they all started whining about calls. Instead of just playing the game that they were playing, which they played solid hockey for those first few minutes, they're worried about missed calls and offsides and what should have been an icing by a foot or an inch or however much.
Who gets to change last? That was the biggest one that the Seattle
one.
coach was going off about at the beginning. I was like, dude, Bussell's giving you the last change. Chill out, man. Like,
and I guess this coach in the past has thrown sticks and stuff on the ice, and we'll have a video for this on YouTube for you guys to look at. He's thrown sticks and a garbage can on the ice at the refs before, and so none of this is surprising, but I just couldn't help but think, man, coaches matter. They set the tone more than anything, and we actually said that on the broadcast, which I don't know if that was okay for the Seattle parents listening, but we were like, man, this coach is an idiot. Like, just kind of just wrecking him there. But yeah, it was an unreal game, and I think there was awesome environment, and I couldn't help but think for some of these Utah boys, if you're good enough and you're wondering about junior, but you want to stay close to home, you know, that might be a good enough distance for you to still go have a fun experience away from home, live with the host family, but you can drive home on weekends and your parents can still come watch you play, you know. Really, really cool experience. So let's kind of unpack the game here for a second. So everything went south once Seattle started taking penalties. The Oilers had 2 power play goals in the first period, and from that point on, things just kind of got weird.
Yeah, the first period was pretty good. It was back and forth game. Seattle put Vernal on their heels for the first 10 minutes, and then they took a penalty. One thing I will say, like, people can say what they want, but Bussell called a really, really good game. And that was something that I thought was really interesting because in our college games, you get 2 officials. So they wear like the orange bands on their sleeves.
They're the only ones that can call penalties.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you get 2 linesmen, so they're calling the offsides, the icings, and things like that. In junior hockey, you only get one banded ref. So they are the ones that are calling the penalties, calling the goals, things like that. And so Bussell had a really, really big job that game, and in a very important game too, in a deciding championship game. And I thought he called the game really, really well. Like the stuff that he let go, the things that he wasn't, tolerating or putting up with. Like I thought it was very even. And Seattle just kind of took a couple of silly penalties. I wouldn't say they were bad penalties, but they were just, they're fighting hard and stick gets caught in between the feet of guys, or you had to take a hook on a breakaway. Like, they were penalties that were, I wouldn't be upset about as a coach, but Vernal just capitalized on it. So Seattle kind of goes into the locker room down, come out in the second period, and it was just absolute head case. And it started with the coach. Like, we're up in that booth right in between both benches, and the Seattle coach is just losing his mind over just little dumb things. And they got into the heads of his players. And, like, you have some players that are disciplined that just kind of ignore it and go out and do their thing. They know their role, their responsibility. But then they had a couple of their kids. I won't say names or numbers or anything, but there's one in particular that just, like, he was a good player, but he was so caught up in just, like, retaliating and doing silly stuff behind the play. And, like, he took a couple bad penalties as well. And it's like, a guy like that, like, we need you to stay in the game. We need you to be a force to get the puck to the net. Like, just get a lucky bounce. That's all they really needed, was just get a lucky bounce, kind of change the momentum a little bit. But yeah, so the second period, they kind of they came out and they were already checked out of the game. Like, you may as well just call the game right there.
Yeah. And at one point, a Vernal player caught one of the Seattle boys up high with the stick. And I don't know if it was intentional or not. Like, I like to think no one would intentionally catch someone up high with the stick in the face, but blood all over the ice. The trainer had to get out there pretty quick and had a cut from the forehead almost all the way down his nose from a stick. And that just fired up Seattle even more. And really kind of the breaking point of the game, they were chippy, like, they were doing things behind the play all night. And part of it is when you only have one official, like, you're going to get away with that because they're watching the puck, the puck handler and watching the play. But really, things kind of exploded after there was a slew foot on the Seattle goalie by one of the Vernal players, which, once again, I don't know if it was intentional. Just the way he skated through, he kind of got pushed in by the defender. But after that, we'll have to post the video because it's crazy.
Oh, man.
One of the defenders chasing him around the ice.
I don't think I've ever seen that in, like, a higher level hockey game like that, like a player, like, chasing someone else down. And he chased down the guy that didn't even do anything.
So, the best way I can describe it is, do you know in NHL when you drop the gloves and the other player doesn't, and so you start skating after him and the guy kind of just skates away like in the video game? That's literally what happened, and it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And finally turned around, but the other kid didn't drop his gloves or anything, and he just kind of got tackled. And yeah, it was wild.
It was kind of scary at one point because Seattle, I mean, their coach straight up told him, like, off the face-off.
Yeah.
Like, from the bench, like, told his kids, like, that were going out on the ice, like, off the face-off, I want you to grab somebody and I want you to start throwing haymakers.
And Vernal's first liners were out, and that's not their job, and they're not that size, and so they held their own, and we'll post the video, but they held their own, but there's not much you can do when you're out there against a 250-pound meatball. Like, it was brutal, and ended up having a few guys tossed from the game, and honestly, I was really surprised that Bussell didn't call it with about 5 minutes left, because the game was clearly over. And at that point, Seattle's goalie had been taken off the ice hurt. The kid who had blood leaking out of everywhere got off the ice hurt, and just things were getting out of hand. But he was able to stick with it, and after the final buzzer, it was electric. I mean, three-peating a division championship is unreal, and going undefeated while doing it is even more unreal. And the fans were buzzing, and it was awesome. Yeah,
I'm excited for you guys to see, like, some of the goals that we'll post. Like, Ozzy got some great shots of that. So, like, Vernal played really, really well, but I mean, you'll see in one of the fights that's right off the face-off, like, a ref gets absolute. Well, was it that one or was it the one after the goal?
That was the face-off.
It was the face-off one. Even the ref gets dummied. Like I was like, what is going on? This is
crazy.
insane.
It was crazy. And
So
yeah, and I mean, honestly, the broadcast team, Tiny does an incredible job up there, and
Greg as well, but both Greg and Tiny did.
Yeah, like I mean, the best broadcasting booth I have ever seen.
They have cameras on each end
they had
overlooking
6
the net.
different camera angles.
Yeah, they had mics inside the net, so you could like hear what was going on down around the net. Like it was. I was shocked. I was like, man, UHC needs to take some notes because the angles that they got, the clarity of the video, the sound. I was blown away. It was impressive.
And I just can't help but think, like, as far as a pay to play junior team goes, like, that's a pretty good setup. Like, if I'm a parent investing in my kid, like, hoping they can make the hop to like a D3 NCAA team or something, a setup like that where you're putting them in a small town where there's not that much trouble to get into, you know, with living with a good small town family and having a broadcast like that so you can catch every game and it's not filmed on a potato or something where you can actually see what's happening. And it really was like a professional experience to be a part of, and it was awesome. And I'm really excited for them. They're going to New Jersey to nationals, and they've been the past 2 years, and it hasn't panned out for them really well, but I think this year it might be their year where they make a little bit of a run here. And it's cool that even in the little forgotten town of Vernal in Utah, we got hockey going, but it's like an incredible program.
Yeah, something special to be a part of. And we were talking about this on the drive home. Like, I think something that is really special, like those boys are obviously bought into the system, and you could tell that they all cared for each other, the way that they celebrated after goals or someone made a good hit or someone took a hit to make a play. Like, you could tell that those boys had become a family. They had built a brotherhood, and that. But something even more special that we chatted about was just like how involved the community is with that team. Like, I mean, they sold that place out, and like we talked about, it's a tin barn. It's not super big. It's not. They don't have a ton of seating like Peaks does or Steiner or some of these bigger arenas. But like, I mean, they sold out before you could even have walk-ins come up to the window to buy tickets. Like, that's how much these families and fans care about that team up there. And so to have something like that to play for, an atmosphere and an environment where it was loud.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky I had headphones, so I didn't have to deal with it that much, but Oz's ears were ringing.
Oh, my ears were ringing. Yeah.
It was loud there.
The whole ride home, I was just, listening to the squeak of an air horn, like, in my ear. Yeah, it was a really cool thing to be a part of, and I can't help but think, like we said, junior hockey, it's to prepare you for the next level and to see if you even love it that much. And that would give you a pretty good taste of what to expect playing semi-pro or going and playing in Europe, having fans be like that, and really, really cool thing. And so we're going to keep you updated on Vernal and how they're doing. And really something else we want to talk about, because we kind of inquired while we were up there, because obviously if a team's going 44-0, you would think, okay, at what point did they get a promotion and get up to the same league as the Outliers and the Mustangs? We were able to ask about that, and neither one of those leagues are USA Hockey, so hypothetically those teams could play against each other. But the biggest thing that we were told was to go NCDC like the Mustangs or the Outliers, it's revenue based. Being able to essentially scholarship your players and pay for them to come play for you, it's all based on money. And the unfortunate fact about having a tiny tin barn is you don't make nearly as much money as some of these bigger arenas, because you physically can't have enough people inside. And so it would be really awesome to see those guys go get the bump up to NCDC one day, but the finance issue is what pops up, and that's what keeps them from doing that. And so for now, they're dominant. And it's not really their fault. That doesn't take away from, there's no asterisk there saying, well, it's the USPHL, when it could be the next level, because the players, there's nothing they can do about it. All they can do is show up and play the game. And we're hoping that the Southern Utah Yeti can follow suit and get their program going. It was their first season this year, first year of the rink down in Cedar City. And if if we can get 2 awesome NCDC programs and awesome USPHL programs in Utah, I mean, that would be phenomenal, right?
Yeah. Well, and all the better too. Like, it would be awesome to see that Vernal organization make that jump to NCDC. But it's kind of nice where you have a really solid feeder team to kind of pull kids up to that next level for Ogden and Utah Outliers. So, like Oz said, it would be awesome to make that jump. But that's how you build really successful programs over decades, over years. Is you have a great feeder program that brings in this awesome talent from, across the U.S. or maybe staying here in Utah. Or, I mean, that roster was full of a ton of international kids coming in. Like, I can't imagine being from Finland and then, you're going to go to the Vernal Oilers in Utah. You're like, where?
That Finnish kid's thinking Vernal's like the capital of the United States. They're like, oh, Vernal's epic, dude. Yeah, it's like, honestly, really, really cool experience. And, there was a few guys that had been pulled up throughout the season to the Outliers. And they had gone back and forth. And it's cool. And especially for our high school boys that listen that are wondering about potentially going and playing junior, I think it's a place to consider. They have an awesome locker room. We've posted a video of that. It is a little tin can arena, but they get priority ice time because there's not much competition out there. And especially, I just think it would be cool to go around town and have people come up to you and say, hey, I was at your game the other day. You played well. Like, that's awesome.
The kind of celebrities up there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, which is super cool. And so we just want to give a shout out to Vernal. We're gonna have some of the Vernal boys on hopefully after their nationals run, and we're gonna get our boy Tiny on here so we can kind of pick his brain since he's been doing this a while with the Vernal team. But we want to wish the Vernal boys best of luck at nationals, and you've already made Utah proud, but we know you're gonna keep doing it at nationals, and best of luck to you. And thank you all for listening to this episode. We know it's a little bit of a short one, but we wanted to just take a second, show some love to our Vernal friends. So this is the Fourth Line Pod, logging off. Bye.
If you want me to go fight for you, that's fine. I'll be down here on the 4th line.